Welcome to something to talk about.
Yeah, really loud.
Welcome to something to talk about.
Hi, welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and this is my Let's Talk About the Difference, where I talk about a character from the Song of Ice and Fire lore books and compare him to whatever show he's in, so Game of Thrones or they're in, or House of Dragon. In this case, Game of Thrones, right? Because why? What are we doing? What's going on? Well, we're talking about Styr Magnar of Thenn. Let's talk about the difference. Major ones. Usually earlier in the show, like seasons 1 through 4, characters are pretty close. Not this one. And we'll get into it because it's a very specific way how this character is different. It's not like they changed everything, but they changed. We'll get to it, right? So I'm going to cover the show first and then the Thenns, then the character and everything he does in the books. Normally I do character or whatever house they're part of first, but that's kind of what the differences are. So we'll cover those after we cover the books, right? If that makes any sense. So let's go show crow meat. So in the, spoilers for the TV show and the books, everything surrounding this character. Right? I'm not just going to jump out and this is how the books end. Well, we don't know how the books end. But yeah, so I'm going to cover everything that happens in the show for them and everything that happens in the book for them. So if you're sensitive to spoilers, probably not a good idea. Right? Okay. So show Crow Meat. The television adaptation of Game of Thrones. Styr is played for. I have been dreading this moment because I can't even read like less long names. I'm like Smythe and they're like Smith, dude. This guy's got a complicated one. So do I. My last name's crazy and long and twists and turns. So is this guy's. Yuri Kolokonikov. Let's go with that. Kolokonikov. Yuri Kolokonikov. Styr is a wildling and the Magnar of Thenns. Thenns are a fierce tribe of free folk known for their practice of self-scarification and engaging in cannibalism of their fallen enemies. At some point, Mance Raider, King Beyond the Wall, convinced Styr to join the army and the big army and acknowledge him as King Beyond the Wall. He becomes one of Mance's lieutenants. Styr leads a group of Thenns towards Castle Black and encounters Tormund and Ygritte after his warg sees them through the eyes of his owl. Styr mocks them over the death of Orell and their failure to kill Jon Snow. Afterwards, he and his fellow Thenns prepare to eat crow, suggesting that Tormund should taste it before he dies. Yay, cannibalism. Woo! Yeah! They attack a village, killing all its residents except for Ollie, the little kid. Styr orders Ollie to run to Castle Black and to warn the Night's Watch about the wildlings. Go tell them about us, boy. Before he lets him go, he informs Ollie that he's going to eat his dead parents. Delightful. Not. All right. Attack on Castle Black. Styr and Tormund attack the settlement of Molestown. They slaughter most of the inhabitants just outside of Castle Black. Styr chastises Ygritte for not killing Jon Snow, which he had the chance again, I think. Soon after, his warg has spotted Mance Raider's signal, and they attack Castle Black. During the battle, he kills numerous of the Black brothers before spotting Jon Snow. During the fighting, Styr and Jon duel each other in the courtyard of Castle Black. Styr eventually disarms Jon of his sword and overpowers him. He's like beats on him a lot. slamming Jon's face into an anvil. That's pretty hardcore. And then tossing him through a blacksmith's forge. Styr then pins him to the wall, and Jon spits in his face and then smashes Styr's head in with a blacksmith's hammer. And there you go. That's that picture. That's that delightful picture that it probably YouTube doesn't like that I showed. It's fake. It's not a real guy with his head. It's makeup. It's makeup or something. Practical effects, I guess. All right, so that's his story in the show, right? Cannibals, kind of the more hardcore versions of the wildlings, has a cool little duel with Jon Snow, and Jon Snow blacksmith hammers his head. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the Thenns. And I've actually talked about the Thenns before because I covered Styr's son, Sigorn, like a year ago, and it's actually one of my favorite videos, and I feel like it is one of the first ones that people started noticing my videos. So yeah, I like Sigorn. So I've covered Thenns before. It's the second time. Thenns of the Free Folk. The Thenns are free folk inhabitants of Thenn, a mountain valley in the peaks of the Frost Fangs beyond the wall, so way up there. They consider themselves the last of the first men. They speak the old tongue and only have a few words of the common tongue. They are led by the Magnar of Thenn, who is considered more of a god than a man by his people. That's Styr, right? Because they have laws and lords in their valley, some consider Thenns more sophisticated than other free folk. You guys are already seeing a difference here. The closer to the people of the south, they have more dealings with giants than other men. Yeah, because they still kind of talk the first tongue, right? The old man, the old tongue. So do the giants. These dudes are savage fighters, but because of their belief in the Magnar as their god, and are more obedient and disciplined than the other free folk. So they're a little more civilized. They are often better equipped than most free folk with bronze helms, axes of bronze, and a few chipped stone short stabbing spears with leaf-shaped heads, bronze swords, leather shirts sewn with bronze discs and scales, and plain unadored shields of a black boiled leather and bronze rims. And rims and bosses. They use bronze banded war horns to warn each other of the Night's Watch approach. Yeah, so they're just a lot more civilized. That's what I'm getting about the Thenns, right? And they're really cool. I do love the Thenns. All right, let's just talk about the book. I'm missing a slide. Here we go. We're not in the right order here. So let's get this slide up. So we got Styr Magnar of Thenn. Styr is the Magnar of Thenn and the leader of the Thenns. So everyone we just talked about, a free folk tribe. Styr himself is a tall, lean man with no ears. He is clean shaven and bald with gray eyes. God help me, gray eyes. And a straight nose. Why is that important? He rules with an iron fist, a bronze fist probably, and commands absolute loyalty from his men. Styr wears bronze scale armor and a helm and wields a weirwood spear, so cool, and an ornate bronze head. So he's got a weirwood spear with a bronze head that's like ornate and really cool. I love Styr. Dude, that just sounds hardcore. No ears? No ears? Is that part of your skin condition? Yeah. No one's going to get that reference. All right, let's talk about the books. The King's Tent. When the Mance Raider decides to unite the free folk, just like in the show, to attack the wall, he has to defeat free folk leaders. This includes Styr, but he had to beat Styr 3 times before the Magnar agreed to support him as king beyond the wall. He's like, you're going to have to keep trying. Jon is brought before Mance Raider since Rattleshirt doesn't trust him. In the King's Tent, so when he walks into a King's Tent, a singer is singing, as Jon looks over the 6 people in the tent. He tries to guess which is Mance. He spots the earless man and thinks he would be attractive if he had ears. That's a line. And Jon's like, he'd be cute if he wasn't so earless. Oh man. Where was I? When the singer finishes the song, the earless man frowns at Rattleshirt, Ygritte, and Jon, questioning Rattleshirt and Ygritte why they have a crow with them, saying that they were supposed to kill Jon. Ygritte tells him that he came over and killed Qhorin Halfhand. Earless was angry and that he didn't get to kill Qhorin himself. Styr asks Jon, Styr asks his name, and Jon says, "I'm Jon Snow, Your Grace." And Styr goes, "Your Grace? You see, he takes me for a king." Tormund laughs hard, so Tormund's there too, and he goes, "Whoever heard of a king with no ears? Why, his crown would fall straight down to his neck." Then the singer comes and introduces himself as king, right? So it's like the scene from the show, which I didn't cover because Styr wasn't in the scene, where he confuses somebody with being the king. But I really like it because Tormund's like over near the fire eating chicken, and Styr's just like doing his thing, and he's like, "Hey, what's up? You guys are supposed to kill him." And he goes, "My name's Jon Snow, Your Grace." And I love Tormund just like, "Give me a king, no ears." It's a funny scene. All right, the climb. As part of Mance's plan to breach the wall, Rhaegar informs Jon that he will be leaving with Styr and Jarl, who is one of Styr's men, on the morrow to climb the wall. So Styr is among his Styr, along with his co-commander Jarl and his men, are sent ahead to scale the wall and take Castle Black by surprise from the rear, which I think is more like the front, but yeah. The night before the plan. All right, where was I? The night before, right? The night before the planned attempt to scale the wall, Styr forces Jon to tell him more about the patrols on the Night's Watch that the Night's Watch use along the wall. Jarl and Styr plan to climb the wall between Stone Door, which is an old castle, and Greyguard, another old castle, where a hill rests against the wall, making it a shorter climb. Jon is watching as Jarl's men are competing with Magnar's to see who will reach the top first. Many of the climbers fall to their death, including Jarl. But several eventually reach the top. So this is when Jon's scaling the wall, right? And he's doing it with Styr and then all these other guys, and Ygritte and all that too, right? So Queen's Crown. After scaling the wall, they arrive at Queen's Crown. Jon is with Magnar's men nearing the village alongside a lake. That's kind of cool. It's a nice little village next to a lake. Oh man, where was I? I had to say useless stuff, and then I was frozen. He realizes that he must somehow escape and reach Castle Black before the raiders do, to warn them. The Thenns capture an old man camped in one of the ruined houses. Styr commands Jon to kill the old man. Jon balks, but Ygritte slits the man's throat with her dagger. As Styr begins to command his men in the old tongue, a crash of thunder sounds, and suddenly a direwolf, not Ghost, a different direwolf, who's actually Summer, it starts to attack the Thenns. Styr and his men die, Styr and his men. Oh, there we go. Styr and his men die in the attack of Castle Black, caught in a trap. While climbing. Wait, where was I? Styr and his men die in the attack on Castle Black. Well, that's just spoilers. Caught in a trap while climbing the wall. Oh my God, he's seen falling portraits. Yeah, all right. I don't know what I got going on here. John Mounts. All right, there you go. The direwolf slaughters several of men in confusion. John mounts the old man's horse and flees the Castle Black. I left that slide all jumbled. Styr is not dead yet. Okay, jeez. What was I doing here? Attack on Castle Black. There we go. Styr leads nearly 120 warriors, hoping to take Castle Black unaware from the south and open the gate for to let Mance Raider in. His force to lead the main force to the wall. Styr announces his upcoming arrival by torching Mole's Town early in the morning. The beacon on Weatherback Ridge is lit in response by the Night's Watch. Styr begins his attack at nightfall as the Raiders and Thenn. So remember, I said there's about 120 warriors, about 80 to 90 of them are Thenns, right? So as the Raiders and the Thenns began to storm Castle Black, archers positioned on the three towers of the castle start to shoot down their arrows. The common hall, the archery, or the armory, and the west stables are sent aflame by the free folk and the Thenns. Then 50 more Thenns are summoned by the war horn, marching up the King's Road in a tight column. Others approach the castle through the vegetable garden. The Thenns storm the castle's gate and subsequently are attacked both by Jon Snow and Satin. I also have a video for Satin from the King's Tower and the defenders stationed on the stairs. A group of Thenns break down the barricade on the door at the King's Tower. Jon and Satin pour boiling oil on the men, who attempt to reach their level. Next, blocking the trapdoor with a heavy iron kettle. So there, Jon and Satin are trying to fight back, like just with bows and arrows. And now these guys are even getting up to their position, and they have to like hold the trapdoor from the top of this tower so they don't get attacked by Thenns. So yeah, Styr is just marching his men in, right? So attack on Castle Black 2. The defenders at the gate are overwhelmed by the attacking Thenns. So this is not the gate through the wall. This is the gate to Castle Black. And the inhabitants of Mole's Town break and flee the scene. So he had whoever was left from Mole's Town helping them out. And now they're fleeing, right? They're not trained soldiers. Leaving only the Black brothers, who are too few to stop the enemy. The spearmen positioned on the two lowest landings of the steps flee as well, going upwards for safety. After the first 5 landings are taken by Thenn, so they're going up the wall, Styr gathers some of the men at the barricade while the Night's Watch resorts to their last plan. The stairs, right, are soaked in oil between the 7th and the 9th landing. So they're up past up to the 5th, and it is set ablaze. So they're lighting their own stairs on fire, right? Most Thenns are killed by the fire or by the ice that breaks down from the wall. Wow, from the heat, and destroying the stairs and killing Styr and most of his men. Well, they're with their deaths, the attack is at an end. So just that part of the attack, right? After the fighting continues, Stannis eventually shows up, and the Thenns are then ruled by Styr's son, Sigorn, which I've covered before. Wow, that was a lot. I just want to give you guys how kind of different, but still really awesome. Like in the show, the attack on Castle Black's one of my favorite episodes, right? But yeah, so it's like this whole thing where they were rushing up these steps, and all the Night's Watchmen are like climbing up the wall to retreat, and the Magnar and all of the Thenns and all the other raiders are going up the steps following them, and they don't realize that it's all covered in oil. So then they light these steps on fire, which are wooden here. Not all stairs at all forts are wooden, but these ones are. And then some of the wall feels the heat from the steps and falls down and starts killing all the Thenns between the fire and the wall. That's so sick. Oh, man. All right. We got one more, and this is just our differences. Okay, so now Styr's dead. So what are the differences? Well, a lot. So his actions are close to the same, but the character was way different, right? First off, so the show versions, so I'm just going to talk about how the character's way different. First off, the show version has ears, right? And in the show, the Thenns are kind of the more barbaric, and they're even cannibals. And that's the opposite of the book Thenns, who are more civilized, are the more civilized of the free folk. They are not cannibals. We don't know why he is missing ears, but I assume it's just from frostbite, right? The show Thenns are all scarred up and wearing furs with a little bit of armor. You can see that he's still got armor, but they're not like full on wearing bronze armor and leather, right? Like I said, they look a lot more barbaric. They just did the Thenns so wrong, and I love the book Thenns. They are a fan favorite for a reason. So, like I said, the differences are less about what the character does. Sure, there are some differences, but for the most part, Styr in both the book and the show are there to attack the front of Castle Black, right? You could say the rear, but the south of it, right? To open up the wall. The attack goes differently. And in the book, Styr meets Jon way before and he helps him climb the wall. In the show, he doesn't come in until after Jon's already climbed the wall, and I think even after Jon leaves, right? So, very different. Besides that, Styr in the books and Styr in the books is who Jon thinks is Mance, not Tormund. So in the show, he thinks Tormund, he calls Tormund Yrgeraze, but it's really Styr. All right. And Styr climbs a wall with them. I already said that. Besides that, it's kind of the same story, but it's the character who's so different and just the Thenns who are just super off. Now, I know I already said it, but it's like they make them cannibals. They're not cannibals in the book. And they're the more wildlingy, right? They're the more they're the more barbarian, the more scary boss level free folk in the show, and that's just way opposite. When in the books they're more civilized, right? They actually have a lord, kind of a Magnar, a king, right? And in the scarification thing, they kind of like have scars all over their faces and stuff in the show, and they don't do that in the books. I guess you could say the ears, but the reason I put that in is I don't think the ears are part of some ritual scarification. I think it's just frostbite, right? You lose your ears in the cold. But yeah, that's mostly it. So I really wanted to cover these guys because I love the Thenns. I covered Sigorn early on because I wanted to cover Thenns. And I think that was before I ever wanted to do let's talk about the differences. So now that I did, I put a poll up and Styr did pretty well on the poll. So yeah, really want to cover Styr. So I'm glad I finally got to. Really awesome character. And great character in the show and in the book. Really scary in the show. He's almost like a boss fight, Jon gets to fight against. And it's cool. It's one of my favorite episodes. I'm not really going to say I dislike them. You went the wrong direction, right? But they still did what they wanted them to do in the show. I think they made a pretty big impact, but they were just very different. Hashtag not my Thenns, right? Okay, that's all I got. What do you guys think of all this? Do you like the show version? Do you like his book version? Do you think both are good? And yeah, that's all I got. And I'm outie at 9,000. Do all the YouTube stuff. Smash the likes. The button of liking, the button of liking, and yeah, peace.